Okay, you're recording.
Okay, so I'm joined here by Michael Hay, and we're in Santa Clara for the Hitachi, stop me again, it's called the Hitachi
Information Forum.
So I'm in Santa Clara and I'm joined by Michael Hay at the Hitachi Information Forum, and we've obviously just seen the release this morning of the new technology, the VSP, which has been under wraps for some time. Michael, can you just take us through some of the new architectural features? That'd be great.
Sure. So I think starting in the front, we have the whole concept of the data accelerator, the ability to basically have storage-specific I/O processing. And that's kind of unique because that follows the emerging trend in the industry that you see from IBM, Oracle to some extent, because obviously they control the processors, and probably more famous than that is NVIDIA.
Right.
So kind of specialized offload engines in some sense. The other thing is you kind of walk deeper into the system, everything's kind of moved to being fully switched. And before it was mostly switched, now everything's fully switched on the High-Star network. And there's an interconnection of all of those processors, routing and everything through the switch down to the Intel microprocessors that are in blade-like constructs. So we have the equivalent basically of multiple nodes, if you think of a node like a blade server. And there, on each of the storage directors, we pool the Intel processors and parcel out processes just like you'd parcel out pages in an HTTP pool.
So everybody makes a big thing about the Intel processor move, or processor move, depending on what you call it. Obviously, Hitachi moved that direction now. I don't think it's a big deal, to be honest. I think it's the way the industry was going.
That's right. It's really not that big of a deal. I think companies, regardless of where they're at, are looking at specialization in any place they can. And if they can get specialization, differentiation, and value out of hardware or packaging or software, they're going to do all of those things. And with vertical integration today, it's all on the table as opposed to just being one technology.
Right. Okay. So what other features do you think are worth mentioning?
You know, HDT, obviously, it'll give you better usage of your different media types. Probably what's even more interesting is the fact we've reduced the battery footprint. We were just talking about this a little while ago. Because we can use solid state to back the cache, we have a much smaller battery footprint. And then other things looking at locality. So we have control stores that have been moved dramatically closer to the actual core processors, and that's reduced latency and actually allowed us to improve I/O.
Right.
And even more interesting, all of these things brought together allow us for, across multiples of these VSDs or chassis, we have what could be construed as almost better than linear scalability. So you add two systems together and you do get linear scalability, but when you look back at the previous generation, we're more than double performance, 2.4 times the performance.
Okay, so just touching on the battery thing, what I think that allows you to do is you can now get 2,000 disks in 6 cabinets.
That's right.
Because you can use the central controller cabinet a lot more efficiently.
That's right.
And now you're using 2.5-inch drives.
That's right. We're using 2.5-inch drives or 3.5-inch drives. You can get your pick, and you can mix in kind of the different hard disk units or HDUs. So I could have a 2.5-inch above or below 3.5-inch, and that way I can mix dense SATA and also mix 2.5-inch drives as well with SAS interconnect, and then solid state can also be intermixed in both different form factors.
Okay, great. One last question. Obviously, everybody always picks on Hitachi or HDS for their software.
Sure.
There's a lot of improvements, I think, in version 7 of the command suite.
There are tons of improvements. Just like with the innumerable number of improvements in the VSP, there's severe re-architectures or really good re-architecting that's been done in Storage Command Suite version 7. It's running on a standard single-socket, dual-core type server environment. It's set up to manage about 5 million resources, heterogeneous management for virtualized storage, backwards compatibility, completely revamped user interface, tasks, you name it. So when we think about the huge change that Hitachi did from 7700E to 9900, the change from the USPV to the VSP is larger in scope and mirrors the change in the management software from the old architecture to the new architecture. So there's so many things that we'll get into over the next year in discussing. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Great. Okay, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure.